Chapter 3, Exercise 2. Hi, Joe Cerrone, Kid 134. We're going to draw this luggage rack using offset, line, and O-snap to create these different features. If we look at the luggage rack, we're looking at it in a top view, and we've got these 3/4 of an inch side pieces and one that goes down the middle, and those are 1 foot 6 inches. And then we've got these other pieces that go across that are 2 inches wide. And then this is just the spacing and how we locate them so that everything is nice and even. Alright, so let's get started. To work on this drawing, we're going to download the B-size title block from our D2L. And so we'll go to D2L. I'm going to just snip it real quick. So if we go to D2L and then we go to our templates, we're going to get our B-size arc template. We're going to download that, and then we're going to open that, and it'll launch in AutoCAD. And so here we are in AutoCAD. We're in model space, and we're going to switch to layer furniture. We're going to make sure that our toolbar is enabled, and so mine is on. If I turn it off, and if I turn it on, and then we're going to make sure that all of our icons are enabled by going to this part right here. And I guess you can leave off the infer constraints, but we want all of these checked off. And I'm going to turn on the line weight button so we can see the lines that we're going to draw on the furniture layer. Alright, so we're going to start off by creating the geometry for this, and I think I'll just start off in the lower left hand corner. We'll draw a straight line, 1 foot 6 inches, and then that's going to be 3/4 of an inch, and then 1 foot 6 inches, and then we're just going to create that shape. Tools, drafting settings, snap is enabled, and we're going to set the snap at 1 inch. And we'll set the grid spacing then at, let's say, 12 inches or 1 foot. And so those are the only two settings that we need to update. We'll leave polar tracking on, and we'll have object snap enabled. We'll say OK. We'll zoom into some position on the screen. We'll select the line command, and then we'll click the starting point, and we'll bring that out. You notice that you have this green line. That's what's called polar tracking. And so if I turn off the grid, you can actually see it. And this is the polar button. And so when we bring this out to the right, we want to bring it, and we want to just type in 1'6", enter, and that's 1 foot 6 inches. If I hit escape and I click on that line, and then if I hover over one of the grips, it'll tell me that that line is 1 foot 6 inches. And that's what we want. We want a 1 foot 6 inch line, and then we're going to offset this 3/4 of an inch, and then we'll just put the caps on the end. I'm going to hit escape to clear the grips. I'm going to offset 3/4, enter, like that. And just to verify, the format and the units are architectural units. If you're not using the architectural title block and it says decimal, then your input is going to be different. And so you want to make sure that your units are set for architectural units. We'll draw a line from this endpoint to this endpoint, hit escape, right click, repeat line, and hit escape. So there's the first bar. And then what we can do is we can offset this 1 foot 6 inches and draw the other bar in the top. And so we'll say offset, and we'll say 1 foot 6, enter, select this line here, and then up here you could either go down or up, and then we'll offset that 3/4 of an inch down, and we'll put the caps on the end by using line endpoint. And you see how it's having trouble acquiring the endpoint at this because it's 3/4 of an inch. So you can turn off the snap and just use an O snap. And then we can hit escape. Alrighty. The other way would be to adjust the snap. And so if we were under Tools, Drafting Settings, and then we looked at our snap, having a 1-inch snap isn't a small enough increment for 3/4. That's why it doesn't reach it. And so if you wanted to, you could adjust this down to 1/4, and then everything will snap on the grid paper. Or you just use O snaps, which is faster. Alright, so we've got these two lines, and we're going to offset this one 8 inches, 8 5/8 of an inch. And that's going to be this line from here to here. Enter. And then that line is then going to be offset 3/4 of an inch, like the other ones were. Offset 3/4. And then we're not going to need the caps on this one because we're going to have this line here, this 2-inch line for the slats that will be located 2 inches from the end. And so what we'll do is we'll draw a line here and then offset it 2 inches to here, and then another 2 inches for the slat, and then we'll offset that 8 inches and 1 foot 2 inches. Alright, so we can draw a line from this endpoint to this endpoint here, and then hit escape, and then we can offset that 2 inches, and then 2 inches again, and then we can hit escape and we can erase this one. We can trim this other one with trim. And we can also trim this area in here and this area here. And then we'll offset this line on the end. I probably should have left it there 8 inches to get that. I'll just draw it again. Endpoint, endpoint, escape, offset. And then we're going to offset that 8 inches, so we'll say 8. And then we'll offset that 2 inches. And we'll trim it. And you can actually you can actually drive it through. It's a nice way to trim things. So I can undo that and show that again. So with trim, you can either select the part to trim, or you can drive it like that by clicking and dragging it. And that's a little quicker. It also works. Alright, so we have one more slat to put in, and that slat is going to be 1 foot 2 inches from this end over here. So we'll offset 1 foot 2, and then we'll repeat the offset of 2 inches, and we'll trim it. Alright, let's take a look at it. we need to remove this line right here. And everything looks good. We can put a couple of overall dimensions on it using the layer for dimensions, and we can just grab a linear dimension and we'll put a linear dimension from the end here to the end here, and then we'll repeat that, and then we'll put it into the title block. And so we'll go to the floor plan tab, double click in the viewport, view, zoom, all, and there's our luggage rack. And then we'll dial in a scale. Now on the dresser we used a scale of 1 inch equals a foot. It's a little bit small though for this exercise. We might go with something a little bit larger, and so we can go with 3 inches equals a foot. I like to use up the paper, or at least use the area of the paper, and then we'll lock that, and then we'll put in our title block information. So you double click outside of the viewport, and then we can go and put your student name. And we'll call this a bonus exercise. Be sure to put in the date, and then again make sure that you document the scale. And so this is 3 inches equals a foot, and so we'll have to put that in there, because what happens is the facilities people will use that and measure with rulers furniture. And it's not so much on a luggage rack, but you may find something like something larger like a table. Facilities departments also have to check to make sure that they fit through the doors. And so they would use the appropriate scale to measure that from the blueprint room. We'll save the file. All right, and that completes this video tutorial.